The prison ship floated in the darkness of space, its metal hull reflecting the distant stars. Deep inside the vessel, in a corridor lit by harsh blue lights, General Krell Vax walked with heavy steps. His armor clinked with each movement, and his 4 eyes scanned the holding cells on either side. Behind him, Lieutenant Vex Nor struggled to keep pace with the general's long strides. "This is the one?" Krell Vax stopped in front of a reinforced door. His voice rumbled like grinding stone. "Yes, General. The human we captured on Helios 7. Vex Nor tapped a control panel, and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside the small cell, a figure sat slumped against the far wall. Taemin looked up slowly, his face pale and covered in bruises. His uniform was torn, and dried blood stained his sleeve. He was small compared to the towering aliens, barely reaching 6 feet tall. His body looked fragile, almost breakable. Krellvax stepped inside and let out a deep, rumbling laugh. The sound echoed off the metal walls. This is what the Galactic Coalition sends to fight us?" He turned to Vex Nor. "Show me his file." The lieutenant activated a holographic display. Data scrolled through the air in glowing symbols. Physical statistics appeared: bone density, muscle composition, natural defenses. Each number made Krellvax laugh harder. "Look at this." The general pointed at the display. No scales, no armor plating, skin so thin a child could pierce it. And these bones. He shook his head in disbelief. "I have seen prey animals with stronger skeletons." Taemin remained silent. He kept his eyes on the floor, his breathing slow and steady. Blood dripped from a cut above his eyebrow, but he did not wipe it away. "The coalition grows desperate," Krellvax continued. 3 years of war, and now they recruit from death worlds, hoping quantity will defeat quality. He leaned closer to the cell, studying Taemin like an insect. "Humans, the weakest species to ever join their ranks. Tell me, creature, do you even know how to fight? Or did they simply throw you into a ship and hope for the best?" Still, Taemin said nothing. His chest rose and fell with each breath, but otherwise, he remained perfectly still. Vex Nor cleared his throat. "General, the human did resist capture. He eliminated 3 of our soldiers before we subdued him." "3?" Krellvax snorted. "Probably surprised them. Humans are known for their cowardice and tricks. They cannot face a warrior in honest combat." He tapped his armored chest. "We Thorians are bred for battle. Our bones are reinforced with natural metals. Our skin can deflect plasma fire. We stand 7 feet tall and can crush stone with our bare hands." He looked down at Taemin with contempt. "What can a human do?" The prisoner slowly raised his head. For the first time, his eyes met the general's gaze. They were dark brown, almost black in the dim light. Empty of fear. Empty of hope. Just cold and watching. Something in that stare made Krellvax pause. Only for a second, but long enough for him to feel a strange sensation. It passed quickly, and he pushed it aside. "Take this thing to the arena," Krellvax ordered, turning away. "Let the crew have some entertainment before we execute it. I want everyone to see what happens to Coalition soldiers who dare challenge the Thorian Empire." 2 guards entered the cell. They were massive creatures, each one twice Taemin's size. They grabbed his arms roughly and hauled him to his feet. He did not resist. He did not struggle. He simply let them drag him toward the door. As they passed Krellvax, the general spoke again. "I almost pity you, human. Your coalition abandoned you here. They will not come for you. You will die alone, far from your weak little world, and no one will remember your name." Taemin's lips moved slightly. His voice came out as a whisper, so soft that Krellvax almost missed it. "They'll come," the general laughed again. "Foolish hope. The coalition does not waste resources on failed soldiers, especially not humans." He waved his hand dismissively. "Take it away." The guards dragged Taemin down the corridor. His feet scraped against the metal floor, leaving thin trails of blood. Other prisoners watched from their cells, alien faces pressing against the transparent barriers. Some looked away. Others watched with hungry eyes, eager to see what would happen in the arena. Krelvax returned to his command chamber, Vexnor following close behind. The room was large, filled with screens showing different parts of the ship. Officers worked at various stations, monitoring weapons, engines, and communications. "Prepare the arena," Krelvax commanded, as he settled into his command chair. "I want this broadcast to all decks. Let every soldier see what happens to our enemies." "Yes, General." Vex, nor hesitated. "Should we retrieve a weapon for the human?" Traditional arena combat allows both fighters to be armed. "No," Krelvax waved the suggestion away. "Let it face a Kragthor warrior with bare hands. That will make the display more educational." Across the ship, in another cell block, someone else watched the security feeds. Commander Ji Woo sat in her own cell, her face bruised, but her eyes sharp. A small device hidden in her palm projected a holographic screen, invisible to the cameras watching her. She had hacked into the ship's surveillance system days ago. She watched as guards threw Taemin into a holding area beneath the arena. She watched as Krelvax announced the entertainment to his crew. She watched as Thorian soldiers began placing bets on how quickly the human would die. Ji Woo smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that held secrets. She pressed a button on her hidden device. A signal, encrypted and brief, shot out into space, so quick and quiet that the Thorian sensors would never detect it. The message was simple. 3 words in human military code. "Target is set." In the holding area, Taemin sat on the cold floor. He closed his eyes and controlled his breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow and steady. His heart rate decreased. His muscles relaxed. He was saving energy, letting his body recover as much as possible. The guards had stripped him of his torn uniform jacket, leaving only a thin shirt. They wanted the crowd to see every wound, every sign of weakness. They did not understand that they were also showing something else. The way his muscles moved beneath his skin, efficient and precise. The way his chest expanded with each breath, pulling in oxygen and preparing his body for what was coming. Taemin had been trained for this. Every human soldier was. They called it Survival Protocol Omega. What to do when captured. How to conserve strength. How to wait for the right moment. How to turn the enemy's confidence into a weapon. Above him, he could hear the sounds of the arena filling with spectators. Thorian voices, loud and aggressive, calling for blood. They wanted a show. They wanted to see the weak human broken and destroyed. They would get a show, just not the one they expected. Taemin opened his eyes. The cold calculation returned to his gaze. He stood up slowly, rolling his shoulders and stretching his arms. Small movements, testing his range of motion. Nothing was broken. Everything still worked. A door opened at the far end of the holding area. Light flooded in from the arena above. The sound of the crowd grew louder. A wall of noise that would terrify most creatures. Taemin walked toward the light. His steps were steady, confident. He had been underestimated before, many times. It was humanity's oldest advantage, the one thing that had kept them alive through millions of years of evolution. Let them think he was weak. Let them laugh. Let them bet on his death. They would learn the truth soon enough. The arena was a circular pit carved into the heart of the prison ship. Metal walls rose 30 feet high, topped with viewing platforms where Thorian officers and soldiers crowded together. Harsh lights illuminated the fighting floor, casting sharp shadows across the scarred surface. Bloodstains from previous battles marked the ground in dark patches. Taemin emerged from the entrance tunnel and stepped into the center of the arena. The crowd roared with laughter and mockery. He stood still, turning slowly to take in his surroundings. His eyes scanned the walls, calculating distances and angles. He noted the positions of the guards, the location of each exit, the texture of the floor beneath his feet. On the highest platform, General Krelvax stood with his officers. His massive frame was impossible to miss. He raised one armored hand, and the crowd fell silent. Soldiers of the Thorian Empire. His voice boomed across the arena. Before you stands a human, one of the coalition's newest recruits. They claim to be warriors. They claim to deserve a place among the galactic military forces. He paused, letting the crowd's laughter build. Today, we will test this claim. Today, we will show what happens to those who oppose us. The crowd cheered. Fists pounded against railings. The sound was deafening. Krelvax continued. The human will face Grakthor, champion of the lower decks. No weapons, no armor, only flesh against flesh. Let us see if human weakness can survive Thorian strength. Another door opened on the opposite side of the arena. The creature that emerged made the crowd's cheering intensify. Grakthor was enormous, standing nearly 8 feet tall. His species, the Kragthor, were known throughout the galaxy as natural warriors. 4 arms extended from his torso, each one thick with muscle. His skin was covered in natural armor plates that overlapped like scales. Small horns protruded from his skull, and his mouth held rows of sharp teeth. Grakthor beat his chest with all 4 fists, roaring at the crowd. They roared back, chanting his name. He turned toward Taemin and snarled, showing those predatory teeth. Taemin did not react. He simply adjusted his stance, feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent. His hands hung loose at his sides. He looked almost relaxed. In another cell block, Hyunwoo watched through a crack in his cell door. The guards had been careless, leaving him with a view of the arena. His hands gripped the metal bars, knuckles white. He wanted to shout, to warn his fellow soldier, but he knew it would do no good. Instead, he watched and waited. On the command platform, an officer approached Krelvax. General, shall we begin? Yes. Krelvax leaned forward, eager to see the human crushed. Let the entertainment begin. A horn sounded. The fight had started. Grakthor charged immediately. His massive legs propelled him across the arena floor with surprising speed. The ground shook with each footfall. He raised all 4 arms, ready to grab Taemin and tear him apart. The crowd leaned forward, expecting to see the human crushed in seconds. Bets had been placed. Most gave Taemin less than 30 seconds. Some were more generous and predicted a full minute. Taemin waited. He did not move until Grakthor was almost upon him. Then, at the last possible moment, he shifted his weight and stepped to the side. Not a large movement, just enough. Grakthor's momentum carried him past, his 4 arms grasping at empty air. He stumbled, confused, and turned around. The human was behind him now, still in that relaxed stance. The crowd's cheering faltered slightly. That was unexpected. Grakthor snarled and charged again, slower this time, more controlled. He swept with his arms, trying to catch Taemin from multiple angles. The human ducked under one arm, twisted away from another, and stepped back from the third and fourth. Every movement was minimal, precise, wasting no energy. What is this? Krelvax frowned. Why does it only run? Vex Nor, standing beside him, watched closely. Cowardice, Krelvax spat. It delays the inevitable. But something in Vex Nor's voice suggested he was not entirely convinced. In the arena, Grakthor was growing frustrated. He had fought many opponents, and all of them had tried to fight back immediately. This human just kept moving, always just out of reach. It was infuriating. He roared and lunged forward with all 4 arms extended, trying to trap Taemin against the wall. The human saw the trap forming. Instead of backing away, he did something unexpected. He moved forward. Taemin ducked low and rushed toward Grakthor's legs. He was inside the warrior's reach now, too close for those long arms to grab him effectively. Grakthor looked down in confusion. trying to adjust his grip. That was when Tae-min struck. His fist hit a weak point just below Grakthor's armor plates, where the joint connected to muscle. It was not a powerful punch, not by galactic standards, but it was placed perfectly. Grakthor gasped, his left leg buckling slightly. Tae-min did not stop. He moved like water, flowing around his opponent's body. His hands found pressure points, joints, vulnerable spots between armor plates. Each strike was small, controlled, precise. He was not trying to break bones or tear flesh. He was trying to disable, to weaken, to control. Grakthor swung wildly with all four arms, trying to catch this pest that had somehow gotten too close. But Tae-min was always moving, always shifting, using the warrior's own body as a shield against his own attacks. The crowd had gone quiet. This was not what they expected to see. Impossible, Krelvax whispered. His four eyes were wide, locked on the scene below. The human is too small, too weak. Grakthor should have killed it by now. Look at the human's movements, General, Vexnor said quietly. Every motion serves a purpose. No wasted energy. It is fighting like what? Like a predator, General, not prey. Krelvax wanted to argue, but he could not look away from the arena. Tae-min continued his assault. He was breathing hard now, sweat running down his face. Pain radiated from his bruised ribs and wounded arm. But his training pushed him forward. Human military training. Designed on Earth, a world where weakness meant death. Grakthor was slowing down. His breathing was labored. The small, precise strikes had accumulated, wearing him down. His left leg was weak. His right arms were not responding as quickly. Confusion clouded his mind. Tae-min saw his opening. He grabbed one of Grakthor's lower arms and used it as leverage, swinging his body up and wrapping his legs around the warrior's thick neck. His thighs squeezed, cutting off blood flow to the brain. It was a technique older than spaceflight, passed down through human martial arts for thousands of years. Grakthor panicked. He tried to pull Tae-min off with his free arms, but the angle was wrong. He stumbled backward, crashing against the arena wall. Tae-min held on, his legs locked in place, his entire body focused on this one task. 10 seconds passed. 20. 30. Grakthor's movements became slower. His arms dropped, his eyes rolled back. 45 seconds. The massive warrior fell to his knees, then forward onto his face. Tae-min released his hold and rolled away, coming up in a crouch. He was breathing hard, his body shaking from exhaustion, but he was standing. Grakthor was not. The arena was completely silent. Hundreds of Thorian soldiers stared in disbelief. The human had won. The weak, fragile human had defeated their champion. Tae-min stood slowly, his legs unsteady. He looked up at the command platform, directly at General Krelvax. Their eyes met across the distance. The general felt that same strange sensation from before, but stronger now. It was not fear. Krelvax did not know fear, but it was something close. Something he had not felt in many years. Uncertainty. Get me a full medical scan of that human, Krelvax ordered, his voice tight. I want to know how it did that. Now. Officers scrambled to obey. Vexnor remained at the railing, watching as guards entered the arena to collect the unconscious Grakthor. Tae-min did not resist when they grabbed him. He simply let them lead him back to the holding area, his head down, his body trembling. But Vexnor had seen something in those final moments. When the guards were not looking, when the crowd was still in shock, the human had smiled. Just for a second. A cold, knowing smile. In her cell, Jiwoo watched the security feed and nodded slowly. She tapped her hidden device again. Another signal shot into space, too quick and small for the Thorians to detect. In the holding area, Tae-min collapsed onto the floor. Pain washed over him now that the adrenaline was fading. His ribs screamed. His muscles burned. He had pushed his body to its limit, but he was alive. And Krell-Vax was confused. That was exactly according to plan. Confusion led to questions. Questions led to investigation. And investigation would reveal the truth about humans. Once the general understood what he was really dealing with, everything would change. Taemin closed his eyes and focused on breathing. His body was already beginning to heal. Human regeneration working faster than most species expected. By tomorrow, the worst of the pain would fade. He hoped the rescue team would arrive before then. But if not, he would wait. He would survive. That was what humans did best. General Krell-Vax paced in his command chamber like a caged predator. The metal floor rang with each heavy step. Around him, officers worked at their stations, trying to look busy while avoiding his gaze. Everyone had seen the arena fight. Everyone knew the general was in a dangerous mood. "Where is the medical report?" Krell-Vax demanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the main display screen. "Coming now, General," an officer replied, fingers moving quickly across a holographic interface. Data began streaming across the screen. Charts, graphs, and measurements filled the air in glowing symbols. Krell-Vax leaned forward, studying every detail. The numbers made no sense. "This cannot be correct." He pointed at a section showing Taemin's physiological state during the fight. These readings indicate the human's body was operating at levels far beyond its base statistics. How is this possible? 1. Vex-Nor stepped closer, examining the data. The scans show massive production of a chemical called adrenaline during combat. It appears to be some kind of natural enhancement drug produced by the human body itself. Enhancement? Krell-Vax turned to face his second-in-command. "Explain." The human's muscles were generating 40% more force than they should have been capable of. Its reaction time decreased by half. Pain signals to the brain were being suppressed. And look here. Vex-Nor highlighted another section. The human's body temperature increased by 3 degrees during the fight. It was literally burning its own resources to generate more power. Krell-Vax stared at the data. Is this some kind of military augmentation? Did the coalition surgically enhance this creature? Negative, General. These are natural biological functions. The scans detect no artificial implants or modifications. Vex-Nor paused. Should I bring in the human scientist? The one we captured with the medical team? Yes. Krell-Vax returned to his command chair. Bring her immediately. I want answers. 10 minutes later, guards escorted Dr. Hay-Wan into the command chamber. She was small, even for a human, barely reaching 5 feet tall. Her face was bruised, and her uniform was stained with old blood. But her eyes were alert, intelligent, and completely unafraid. Dr. Hay-Wan. Krell-Vax gestured to the data still displayed on the screens. Explain what we witnessed in the arena. Explain how your species defeated a Kragthor warrior. Hay-Wan looked at the displays, taking her time to read the information. A small smile touched her lips. You want to understand human biology, General. I want to understand how such a weak creature achieved the impossible. Weak? Hay-Wan's smile grew. That is your first mistake. Humans are not weak. We simply appear that way to those who do not understand us. Explain. Now. Krell-Vax's voice carried a clear threat. Hay-Wan walked closer to the displays, her hands clasped behind her back. Despite the guards flanking her, she moved with confidence. Tell me, General, what do you know about Earth? The human homeworld? It is a small planet in an insignificant system. Nothing special. Wrong again. Hay-Wan tapped one of the displays, bringing up an image of Earth. A blue and green sphere floating in space. Earth is what we call a death world. Do you know what that means? Vex-Nor spoke up. Death worlds are classified as planets with extreme conditions hostile to most life. High gravity, dangerous predators, aggressive diseases, volatile weather patterns. Correct. Hay-Wan nodded. Earth has all of that, and more. The gravity on our world is higher than 70% of inhabited planets in the coalition. The atmospheric pressure is crushing compared to most species standards. And the predators. She paused, her eyes distant. Earth has millions of species that evolved specifically to kill and eat other creatures. And humans were both predator and prey. Krelvax leaned back in his chair. Continue. Human evolution is a story of survival against overwhelming odds. We did not develop armor plates or natural weapons. We did not grow large or strong by galactic standards. Instead, we developed something far more dangerous. Haywan turned to face the general directly. We developed adaptability. Our bodies learned to push beyond normal limits when threatened. That adrenaline you detected? It is our survival response. When a human faces danger, the body floods itself with chemicals that increase strength, speed, and pain tolerance. We call it the fight or flight response. A temporary enhancement, Vexnor observed. But at what cost? Exhaustion, injury, sometimes death. Haywan acknowledged. But in the moment of danger, a human can accomplish things that should be impossible. Lift weights far beyond their normal capacity. Run faster than their muscles should allow. Ignore wounds that would cripple other species. And when the danger passes, our bodies heal. Faster than you might expect. Krelvax studied the human scientist. You are saying, this is normal? For your species? Every human has this capability. Some learn to control it better through training. Your soldier in the arena, Taemin, he is military trained. He knows how to trigger his body's responses and maintain control even in combat. That is why he won. Quote. One victory proves nothing, Krelvax argued, though his voice lacked its earlier certainty. Then test him again. Haywan spread her hands. Send 5 opponents. 10. It will not matter. You are fighting millions of years of evolution designed for one purpose: survival against impossible odds. The command chamber fell silent. Officers exchanged glances. The idea that the small, fragile-looking humans were actually Death World survivors changed everything. Krelvax made a decision. Prepare 5 more arena matches. I want different species, different fighting styles. If this human can defeat them all, then I will believe your claims. As you wish, General. Haywan bowed her head slightly. But may I ask one question? What? Have you checked Coalition military records? Specifically human combat performance? Krelvax frowned. Why would I need Coalition records? Because you are making decisions based on ignorance. Haywan met his gaze steadily. If you truly want to understand what you are facing, look at the data. Look at how humans have performed in actual combat since joining the Coalition. After the guards escorted Haywan back to her cell, Krelvax sat in silence. His pride wanted to dismiss her words as propaganda. But the scientist had spoken with too much confidence, and the arena fight had been real. He had witnessed it himself. Vexnor, he said quietly. Access the Coalition military database. Use our intelligence codes. I want records of human combat performance. Yes, General. It took 20 minutes to break through the Coalition's security systems. When the data finally appeared, Vexnor's expression changed. General, you need to see this. Krelvax stood and approached the display. What he saw made his blood run cold. Humans had joined the Coalition military only 2 years ago. In that short time, they had been involved in 147 combat operations. Their casualty rate was among the lowest of all Coalition species. Their mission success rate was among the highest. But the most disturbing statistic was this: individual combat commendations. Awards given for exceptional bravery, skill, or achievement in battle. In 2 years, humans had earned 73% of all such awards. This is impossible, Krelvax whispered. They are only 3% of Coalition forces. How can they earn so many commendations? Vexnor pulled up specific reports. Battle after battle showed the same pattern. Human soldiers performing actions that seemed suicidal, but somehow succeeding. Holding positions against overwhelming odds. Rescuing wounded comrades under heavy fire. Completing missions that other species had deemed impossible. One report caught Krelvax's attention. A human unit trapped behind enemy lines for 6 days. No supplies. No support. They should have died or surrendered. Instead, they had survived by hunting local wildlife, treating their own wounds, and evading patrols. When coalition forces finally reached them, all 8 humans were still alive and combat-ready. They do not give up, Vexnor said softly. No matter how bad the situation, humans keep fighting. Krelvax returned to his chair, his mind racing. He had thought, capturing Taemin was a victory. A chance to break coalition morale by showing their weakness. But now, he understood the truth. He had not captured a weak soldier. He had captured a survivor from a death world. A creature evolved to endure, adapt, and overcome. And if the data was correct, humanity's greatest strength was not individual combat ability. It was something else. Something the general had not considered. Look at this. Vexnor highlighted another section. Human military doctrine emphasizes small unit tactics. They operate in teams designed to support each other, and they have one rule that appears in every operation manual. What rule? Never abandon a fellow soldier. Vexnor looked up from the display. No matter the cost, humans always try to rescue their captured comrades. Always. Well snan. Krelvax felt that sensation again, the one he refused to call fear. You think they will come for this one? For Taemin? General, if this data is accurate, they are already coming. As if to confirm Vexnor's words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Officers jumped to their stations, pulling up tactical displays. Report! Krelvax roared. Hull breach, Section 7. An officer's voice was panicked. Multiple contacts. Small craft. They bypassed our sensors somehow, and attached to the outer hull. How many? Unknown, General. But we are detecting weapons fire. Inside the ship, Krelvax stood, his massive frame towering over the command chamber. On the displays, security cameras showed figures moving through the corridors. Small figures. Fast. Efficient. Human figures. They came, Vexnor whispered. Just like Taemin said they would. Krelvax watched the screens, watching these humans tear through his security forces with terrifying precision. Each one moved like Taemin had moved in the arena. Calculated. Controlled. Deadly. He had laughed at the weak soldier in the cell. He had mocked humanity's fragility. But now, as his ship descended into chaos, General Krelvax understood. He had not been fighting weakness. He had been fighting something far more dangerous. He had been fighting survivors who refused to abandon their own. The breach in Section 7 sent tremors through the entire ship. Metal screamed as the human assault craft tore through the hull, creating an entry point before Thorian sensors could properly react. 4 figures dropped into the corridor, weapons ready, moving with practiced efficiency. Commander Jiwoo led the team. She had spent 3 days in a Thorian cell, waiting for this moment. Now, free and armed, she moved like a ghost through the enemy ship. Behind her came Youngmi, the team's engineer and explosives expert. On her flanks, 2 other soldiers advanced in perfect synchronization. Hyunwoo, status. Jiwoo spoke into her communication device. Her voice calm, despite the chaos erupting around them. From somewhere deep in the ship's systems, Hyunwoo's voice crackled back. I have access to their network. Cameras are on a loop. I can give you 30 seconds of confusion in any corridor you need. Taemin is being held in subsection 4, lower deck. But be advised, They are mobilizing security forces throughout the ship. Understood. Youngmi, mark our path. Youngmi nodded, pulling small devices from her pack. As they moved through the corridors, she attached them to walls and door frames. Tiny explosives, barely visible, positioned to collapse passages behind them. Not enough to destroy the ship, but enough to slow pursuit. Thorian guards appeared at the end of the corridor, weapons raised. They were large, armored, confident in their superior size. They fired, plasma bolts searing through the air. The humans did not meet force with force. They used the environment. Ji Woo rolled behind a support beam. Youngmi dropped flat and returned fire from a prone position. Their shots were precise, aimed at joints in the Thorian armor, at weapons, at vulnerable points. Within seconds, 3 guards were down. The 4th retreating with his weapon arm disabled. Move, Ji Woo commanded. They ran. Not in a straight line, but using cover, checking corners, maintaining tactical awareness. This was what humans trained for. Small unit operations in hostile territory. Every movement had a purpose. Every decision was calculated. In the command chamber, Krelvax watched the security feeds in growing disbelief. How many are there? Initial scans detected only 4 humans, General, an officer reported. But they are moving through our security like they have the ship's layout memorized. 4? Krelvax slammed his fist against the command chair. 4 humans are causing this much damage? Send more guards. Lock down every corridor between them and the holding cells. Orders were given. Throughout the ship, Thorian soldiers mobilized. Blast doors sealed. Security checkpoints activated. Over 200 armed warriors moved to intercept 4 humans. But the humans had planned for this. Jae-sung, you are active, Ji Woo spoke into her communicator. Deep in the maintenance section, a figure emerged from a ventilation shaft. Jae-sung had been aboard the ship for 6 days, disguised as a maintenance worker. The Thorians had never suspected. He moved through the lower decks with the ease of someone who belonged there, heading toward the holding cells from a completely different direction. Youngmi reached an intersection and pulled a larger device from her pack. 30 seconds. She warned her team. Ji Woo and the others took cover. Youngmi activated the device and placed it against the wall, then sprinted back to safety. The explosion was precise, controlled. It blew a hole through 3 layers of wall, creating a shortcut that bypassed 2 sealed corridors. Hyun-woo, update, Ji Woo called as they moved through the smoking gap. You have incoming. 20 guards, heavy weapons, converging on your position from 3 directions. I can seal 2 of those directions for 90 seconds. The 3rd you will have to handle. Do it. Blast doors slammed shut on 2 corridors, triggered by Hyun-woo's remote access to the ship's systems. Confused Thorian soldiers found themselves trapped, pounding on sealed doors. But the 3rd group still came. Weapons ready. Ji Woo's team took defensive positions. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. What happened next was a display of human tactical coordination that the Thorians had never encountered before. Ji Woo provided suppressing fire, while Youngmi flanked. Another soldier used a smoke grenade to obscure vision. The 4th human went low, targeting legs and forcing the enemy to adjust their aim. Thorians were trained for direct combat. Stand and fight. Strength against strength. They were not prepared for an enemy that adapted every 3 seconds, that used their own size against them, that turned every environmental feature into a weapon. The engagement lasted 45 seconds. When the smoke cleared, the Thorian guards were disabled, and the humans were already moving, barely slowed. In the holding cell area, Taemin heard the distant sounds of combat. He had been resting, letting his body recover from the arena fight. Now he stood, alert, listening to the pattern of explosions and weapons fire. He knew those patterns, knew that fighting style. His team had come. The cell door opened. Not from outside, but from an override triggered by Hyun-woo's hacking. Taemin stepped out into the corridor, and found Jae-sung waiting for him, holding a spare weapon. "Took you long enough," Taemin said, taking the weapon and checking its charge. "Traffic was terrible," Jae-sung replied with a slight smile. "Always." Taemin rolled his shoulders, testing his range of motion. The pain was still there, but manageable. His body had healed enough. "Where is Jiwoo?" "Coming to us. We extract together." They moved through the corridors, releasing other prisoners as they went. Not all were human. Several coalition soldiers of various species emerged from cells, confused but grateful. Jae-sung handed out weapons taken from fallen guards. "Stay behind us," he instructed. "We are leaving this ship. Anyone who can walk should follow." General Krell Vax watched the chaos spreading through his vessel. His command chamber was now a war room, displays showing combat in multiple sections. Human forces had somehow multiplied. 4 had become 6, then 8, as they freed their own. "Where is my security?" Krell Vax roared. "We outnumber them 100 to 1. They are using our own ship against us, General," Vexnor reported, his voice tight with stress. "They seal corridors to divide our forces. They know exactly where to strike to disable our systems without destroying vital functions. Whoever planned this operation knew our ship design perfectly. Impossible. This ship's layout is classified Thorian military intelligence. Then they have better intelligence than we assumed." The two human groups converged in the central corridor of the lower deck. Jiwoo saw Taemin and nodded once. No words needed. They were all professionals. Emotions could wait until they were safe. "Extraction point is 3 levels up," Jiwoo said, addressing the entire group. "We have a narrow window. Hyunwoo, seal every corridor behind us as we move." "Already on it, Commander. But be advised, they are bringing up heavy weapons. The kind that will punch through our cover. Then we move faster. Young-mi, clear our path." Young-mi took point, her explosives creating a direct route up through the ship. Normally, they would use elevators or access shafts. But normal paths could be trapped, so they made their own path. Hole by hole, they ascended. Thorian forces finally organized a proper response. Heavy weapons teams set up in the upper corridors, creating a kill zone. When the humans emerged, they would be cut down by overwhelming firepower. But Jiwoo anticipated this. Smoke and flash. "Everyone, cover your eyes." Multiple grenades flew up through the opening Young-mi had just created. The corridor above filled with smoke and blinding light. Thorian soldiers, unprepared, stumbled back, their sensitive eyes and ears overwhelmed. The humans came through in that moment of confusion. Fast. Aggressive. They did not engage in a prolonged fight. They punched through the line, weapons firing, using the disoriented Thorians as cover against their own comrades. Krellvax made a decision. He could not let these humans escape. They had embarrassed him, damaged his ship, freed his prisoners. If word of this reached the Thorian Empire, his career would be destroyed. "Activate the ship's self-destruct," he commanded. The command chamber fell silent. Every officer turned to stare at their general. "General," Vexnor stepped forward. "That will kill everyone aboard, including our own soldiers. Better death than dishonor." Krellvax's 4 eyes were cold. "If I cannot have victory, I will have vengeance. The humans will die. We will all die. Activate the self-destruct. Authorization. Krellvax Omega-7. The ship's computer acknowledged the command. A countdown began. 10 minutes until detonation. Throughout the vessel, warning klaxons blared. Red emergency lights replaced normal lighting. Every screen showed the same message. Ship. Self-destruct activated. Jiwoo heard the announcement and cursed. "Hyunwoo, can you stop it?" "Negative. It requires the General's direct authorization to cancel. But I am reading the countdown. We have 9 minutes to reach our ship and clear the blast radius. We will never make it carrying wounded. Then we leave them," one of the rescued coalition soldiers suggested. Panic in his voice. Jiwoo turned to face him. Her expression was cold. We do not abandon our people. Ever. That is not how humans operate. Taemin stepped up beside his commander. Despite his injuries, despite his exhaustion, his voice was steady. We all leave together. Or none of us do. The other humans nodded agreement. It was not even a question for them. Youngmi was already working, calculating times and distances. If we can reach the maintenance shaft in Section 3, we can cut 2 minutes off our escape time. But it means going through the general's command level. Then that is where we go. Ji-woo checked her weapon. Load up. Every second counts now. They ran. No more tactics. No more careful advancement. Just speed and determination. Wounded were carried. Those who could fight provided covering fire. The mixed group of coalition soldiers, led by humans who refused to leave anyone behind, charged through the dying ship. Krelvax watched them coming. He stood in the command chamber, waiting. His officers had fled to the escape pods. Vexnor had stayed, loyal to the end. They are coming here, Vexnor observed. The command chamber doors exploded inward. Youngmi's last explosive charge turned reinforced metal into shrapnel. Through the smoke and debris, the human strike team entered, weapons raised. Behind them, rescued prisoners crowded in the corridor, desperate to reach the extraction point. General Krelvax stood in the center of the chamber, weaponless but unafraid. Vexnor remained at his side, equally still. Around them, the countdown continued. 6 minutes and 40 seconds until detonation. Ji-woo swept her weapon across the room, confirming no other threats. Her eyes locked on Krelvax. We are leaving. You can come with us or die here. Choose now. I do not run from humans, Krelvax replied, his 4 eyes filled with contempt. Then you are a fool. Taemin stepped forward, his weapon pointed at the floor but ready. Your ship is dying. Your crew has abandoned you. Your pride has killed you. Better to die with pride than live in shame. 6 minutes. Hyunwoo's voice crackled through their communications. Commander, we need to move now. Ji-woo made a decision. Leave him. We do not have time. She turned to her team. Everyone to the maintenance shaft. Double time. They ran. Not because they feared the general, but because time was their real enemy now. The rescued prisoners followed, some limping, some carried by stronger soldiers. Youngmi counted heads as they passed, making sure no one was left behind. Taemin was the last to leave. He paused at the destroyed doorway and looked back at Krelvax. The general stood like a statue, accepting his fate. Why? Krelvax asked suddenly. Why come back for one soldier? Why risk everything? Taemin's expression was cold. Because that is what humans do. We do not abandon our people. We do not give up. Ever. He paused. That is not weakness, General. That is why you are losing this war. He turned and ran, leaving Krelvax alone in the command chamber. 5 minutes remained. The maintenance shaft was a vertical tunnel running through the ship's core. Normally used for repair work, it now served as their escape route. Youngmi had already attached climbing gear to the walls. One by one, the group ascended, moving as fast as their bodies allowed. Ji-woo went first, pulling wounded soldiers up behind her. Taemin and Jae-sung took the rear, ensuring no one fell behind. The rescued coalition soldiers, species from across the galaxy, climbed beside humans. Some were stronger, some were faster, but all were united in one goal: survival. 4 minutes, Hyunwoo announced. Your ship is waiting at the docking port, but I am reading Thorian life signs approaching from lateral corridors. They know where you are going. 2. Can you slow them down? Ji-woo asked, pulling another soldier up to the next level. Already working on it, sealing what doors I can. But the ship's systems are failing. The self-destruct is cascading through the network. They reached the upper level. The docking port was visible through a transparent section of corridor. Their assault craft waited, attached to the Thorian ship's hull, like a parasite. But between them and safety stood a squad of Thorian guards. These were not regular soldiers. These were the general's elite guard, warriors who had chosen death over escape. They had sealed themselves in the corridor, weapons charged, faces grim with determination. 3 minutes, Hyunwoo warned. Jiwoo assessed the situation instantly. A direct assault would take too long. They would never breach the position and board their ship in time. She looked at her team, at the rescued prisoners, at the countdown ticking away their lives. Youngmi stepped forward. I can create a path, but someone needs to manually override the docking clamps from inside the Thorian system. It will take at least 90 seconds. I will do it, Taemin said immediately. No, Jiwoo shook her head. You are already injured. I will. Commander, with respect, you are needed to pilot the assault craft. I am the most expendable person here. Taemin's voice was calm, accepting. Give me a communication device. When the clamps release, you leave immediately. I will find another way off this ship. With Kretectugator, with Rectugator, on Contendrisazon. There is no other way, Jae-sung said quietly. The escape pods are on the opposite side of the ship. You will never make it in time. Taemin smiled slightly. Then I will move very fast. Jiwoo wanted to argue, wanted to find another solution. But the clock was ticking, and they both knew there was no time. She placed a hand on Taemin's shoulder. It has been an honor serving with you. The honor is mine, Commander. Taemin took the communication device. Now, go. I will buy you the time you need. Youngmi's explosives cleared a path through the elite guards. Not a direct assault, but a ceiling collapse that forced them to retreat or be crushed. In that moment of chaos, the rescued prisoners rushed through, heading for the assault craft. Taemin ran in the opposite direction, toward the ship's control systems. His body screamed in protest. Every injury from the arena fight, every wound from the escape, all of it flared with pain, but he pushed through. Pain was temporary. His team's survival was permanent. 2 minutes, Hyunwoo's voice in his ear. Taemin, are you sure about this? Just guide me to the override controls. 30 meters ahead, left junction, then through the access panel. But Taemin, the countdown. Even if you override the clamps immediately, you will not have time to reach an escape pod. I know. Taemin found the access panel and tore it open. Inside, a maze of wires and circuits. Normally, this would require specialized tools and technical knowledge. He had neither, but he had determination. Just tell me which wires to connect. At the docking port, Jiwoo herded the last prisoners into the assault craft. The ship was overcrowded, filled beyond its normal capacity. But they would make it work. They had to. Taemin, status, she called into her communicator. Working on it. 90 seconds. Just like Youngmi said, get everyone secured. We are not leaving without you. Yes, you are. That is an order, Commander. Jiwoo's hands tightened on the pilot controls. She had known Taemin for 3 years, had fought beside him on a dozen missions, had trusted him with her life. And now she had to trust him one more time. Trust him to do the impossible. 1 minute, Hyunwoo announced, his voice tight with emotion. Taemin's hands moved through the wiring system, connecting circuits based on Hyunwoo's instructions. Sparks flew. Some connections were wrong. He corrected them. Tried again. The Thorian system was different from coalition designs. But logic was universal. Power flow was universal. 45 seconds. He connected the final wire. The docking clamps released with a mechanical clunk that echoed through the hull. Clamps are free, Jiwoo shouted. Taemin, get to an escape pod now. On my way. Taemin was already running. Not toward the escape pods, because he knew that was impossible, but toward the exterior hull. There was a maintenance airlock nearby. If he could reach it, if he could get outside the ship, maybe the explosion would throw him clear. Maybe Ji-woo could pick him up in space. It was a desperate plan. But desperate was better than nothing. 30 seconds. The assault craft detached from the Thorian ship, thrusters firing immediately. Inside, rescued prisoners held tight to whatever they could grip. Ji-woo pushed the engines to maximum, trying to clear the blast radius. But she kept one eye on her sensors, searching for any sign of Taemin. 20 seconds. Taemin reached the airlock. His hands fumbled with the controls. Precious seconds ticking away. The door opened. He stepped into the small chamber. Behind him, the inner door sealed. Ahead, the outer door remained closed. He pressed the release button. Nothing happened. 10 seconds. Hyun-woo, the airlock is not opening. Taemin's voice remained calm. Even now. Emergency override. Panel on your left. Red switch. Taemin found it. Pulled it. The outer door began to open. Slowly. 2. Slowly. 5 seconds. On the assault craft, Ji-woo watched her sensors. A small blip appeared on the scope. Ejected from the Thorian ship. Taemin had made it outside. 4. The explosion was massive. The Thorian prison ship detonated from within, fusion reactors overloading in a cascade reaction. Light and force erupted outward, consuming everything nearby. 3. The blast wave caught Taemin, hurling him into space. His body tumbled, spinning. No control. Through the small window of his emergency suit, he saw the ship disintegrate, saw debris expanding in all directions. 2. Ji-woo angled the assault craft, fighting against the shockwave. Alarms screamed. The hull groaned. But she kept control, kept pushing toward that small blip on her sensors. 1. They reached him. A tractor beam locked on. Pulled him toward the ship. Pulled him to safety. The Thorian ship was gone. Vaporized. But in the aftermath, a single escape pod drifted in the debris field. Inside, General Krell Vax and Vex's Nor had survived. At the last moment, Vex Nor had forced the general into the pod, choosing survival over pride. Krell Vax watched the human assault craft disappear into the distance, carrying away the prisoners he had captured, carrying away the soldiers who had defeated him. He reached for the pod's communication system and began recording a message. A message that would be transmitted directly to Thorian High Command. 1 week later, Coalition Command Center buzzed with activity. Reports came in from across the front lines. The war continued, but something had changed. Taemin sat in the medical bay, his injuries finally properly treated. Ji-woo visited him, bringing news. Thorian High Command received a message, she said, sitting beside his bed. What did he say? Ji-woo pulled up a datapad and read from it. He filed an official military assessment. His recommendation is that the Thorian Empire immediately seek peace negotiations with the coalition. Taemin raised an eyebrow. He wants peace? After everything? Because of everything. Ji-woo showed him the report. He wrote that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because we are strong, but because we refuse to acknowledge defeat. Because we turn every disadvantage into a weapon. Because we never abandon our own. Taemin read the words silently. At the end of the report was a single sentence that made him smile. We cannot win against an enemy who does not know how to lose. Is that what we wanted? Ji-woo asked quietly. To be feared? Taemin thought about that question. Thought about Earth. About humanity's long struggle to reach the stars. About being underestimated at every step. About proving themselves over and over again. No, he finally answered. We wanted respect. But if fear keeps our people safe, I will take it. Through the window, they could see coalition ships gathering. Humans worked alongside dozens of other species, preparing for the next operation. Each one unique. Each one valuable. But the humans, those Death World survivors, Those underestimated warriors, they had earned something special. They had earned a reputation. The galaxy had learned what Krelvax learned in his prison arena. Never mistake survival for weakness. Never underestimate a human. And never, ever, laugh at what you do not understand. Outside, the stars shined cold and distant. And among those stars, humanity carved its place, not through overwhelming force, not through superior technology, but through sheer, stubborn, relentless determination. They were humans, and they would never give up. That was their strength. That was their weapon. That was why the alien general stopped laughing.